We got to react to Bobby reacting to Weekend to keep the change.
We'll listen to the Weekend video for now.
Going on, boys and girls of YouTube. So I was planning on doing this for 2 weeks, and I wanted to wait and try to get some
The multiverse
down from HI-REZ and see what their real plans were before I did that. So I made 3 videos, I believe, on Smite 2 and the state, you know, the current state at that moment. One was October. I think the last 2 main ones were in October, which is where the CEO was tweeting and just kind of ruining and going off on other games and stuff that's going on, and it was bad look. That video has a lot of views. And then I think the day before that, or maybe the day after, I did a video on what's going on with Smite, right? Then I know we reacted to Inbound's video where he's like, Smite 2 needs help. His video, I think a lot of people didn't understand that he's mainly talking about the player base, and matchmaking needs to be fixed, but the player base has to go up for matchmaking to get fixed, and it's a whole thing, right?
That was part of it. There was a lot of stuff that I was talking about in the video. It was literally a constructive video, but everyone's like, this guy's such a doomer. It was constructive. It was just issues that I had with the game that I want to see changed.
Pretty much
nothing wrong with Bobby's takes
away
in any of the videos he's made.
Cat keeps meowing.
Whether I agree with him subjectively about the state of the game or not, there's been nothing wrong with
free-to-play launch of Smite 2. And there's some people that are ignorant to the idea. Ignorant, it's fine. Like you don't need to know everything. Ignorant to the idea that free-to-play is what made Smite Smite. Right? It was the first MOBA on console. It's still really the only relevant MOBA on console. It's free to play. People on consoles tend to be playing on console to save money. Free to play games save you money. So it ends up being a type of game people play, right? Then for PC, people saw the original alpha. It was bad and they didn't want to pay to play the game, and free to play is going to give them the opportunity to try it. Now, that being said, right? We've gone through some crazy hurdles with Smite 2. All right, I know Fine OK dropped the video today when I'm recording this. I think he went into the specifics of like animations being better and why Smite 2 is better than Smite 1, all that stuff, right? He is correct. Now, those things are super detailed things that a smaller portion of people really, really care about. Obviously, he talked about the bigger things too, but the smaller things, you know, animations looking cool, that stuff, a lot of people don't care about.
What's his video's name? Doomers aren't gonna like this.
More single player style gamers focus on, which are a lot of Smite players, but it's not the core part of the competitive gameplay, right? The big thing that people hated was the game felt clunky. The game didn't feel right. It didn't feel like Smite 1.
It felt slow.
It didn't look like Smite 1. And
Morning, Grayley.
On top of that, people didn't have their gods.
They
didn't understand the
shading and whatnot. I didn't like we didn't like the UE5 look, just the base UE5 look. Obviously, there was a lot of bugs. The characters felt slow, whether it was pre-fire or post-fire animations being not matching Smite 1 or feeling slower. It kind of felt like you were in an Ola run, and not a super slow one, just like 0.9 instead of 1.0 speed compared to Smite 1. It just felt slow, which meant it felt like you were playing underwater, right? So the game just didn't feel good. Everybody having beads didn't feel good.
Strength, intellect change, all this stuff, right? Well,
then not to mention that people hate the fact that there's any change at all. There are still people who just hate strength and intelligence because they want a streamlined meta, because they don't want to have to think or use their brains. They don't want to have to be like, wait, should I use this game? They literally just want to hop on, know what is the best character in the game in that role. They want to pick that character, and they want to know exactly what the best, most optimized 6-item build is, and they want to build that so that way they can win. They don't like to have to think. They don't like to have to maybe theory craft like a active into this build so they can have more survivability as Zeus. They don't want to, right? They don't want to have to. Well, I don't want to grab beads as the active as Zeus after I already have Blink. I don't want to grab the beads active to prevent myself. Blah, blah, blah. Like, they don't want to think. They just want everything to just be like, this is exactly what you do and this is how you win. And they don't like that they have to actually do something outside of perform on that streamlined meta. That's why they don't like it.
Talk about this quickly. A lot of people just didn't like the fresh take on Smite 2.
Oh, thank you.
They just didn't like the things that HI-REZ changed. They're like, I want literally Smite 1 on a new engine. That's all they wanted. They did not give a fuck about new characters. They did not give a fuck about the strength and intelligence.
They didn't. They didn't. They just want to stay on the same thing forever, but also at the same time. So this is the issue with the dev cycle. Is it's like they'll launch something. I'm like, oh, that's sick. and then they'll change a little bit of how the character works, and then there will be a whole bunch of people who are like, you just changed this character. I already like the character how it was. Why are you changing everything? And then they'll launch the next character, like Thor, doesn't have too many changes, a little bit changes to his arc, and you can cancel your wall early, and they're like, so it's just the same as Smite 1? Like, no matter what they do,
They did not give a
people
fuck about,
bitch.
you know, the buff changes, the map, literally none of that. All they wanted was Smite 1 on UE5, which is the worst idea of all time. Why would you ever do that? But some people wanted that for some reason.
That's what Overwatch did. Overwatch made Overwatch 2. It was literally just a recolor of Overwatch 1. But then they had started to change things, but then they gave in to the people that were bitching, so they lost the new people, and then enough of the early people didn't transfer over, right? The fact that we are not delving back to make it Smite 1 is the best decision HI-REZ could ever make. This is not Smite 1, this is a sequel. If you like Smite 1, it's still there. Still play on Smite 1. But Smite 2 is going to be the better game. We're not looking to make Smite 1 that looks better. We are looking to make Smite 2, and Smite 2 feels like a sequel. If you want to stay on the old version of the 2006 blah blah blah, go ahead. But like, we should not be focusing on, we want to make it feel like Smite 1. It's not supposed to feel like Smite 1. Because it's not Smite 1.
So smooth that it's to the point where
It is very smooth.
The game has become easier for lower level players mechanically because of how smooth autos, abilities, everything are.
Let's go, Fiv.
Combination of abilities are no longer, people call it, we were trying to think of a word on stream, hitches, where not like.
I think what he's trying to describe is like, when you would try and like cast a Sunder, but you were already Bacchus burping, in Smite 1, the coding and stuff didn't allow you to do that. You being able to use actives during channeled abilities, you being able to do something while CC'd, CC buffering, right, affecting your ability to cast things while you had already cast it so it's not getting interrupted, you being able to shell your team while pulling somebody as Kepri rather than having to cancel it, wait, and then try and cast it, but now you're CC'd, all these different things, and then the +1s of the gods has made the game more intuitive, so that way you don't have to theorize how you should play this fight. Oh shit, I need to cancel my one so that way I can ult and then shell somebody, and I can't do that while I'm wanting because Kepri is unable to cast a relic, right, while he's in the process of doing his one. Things like that is what make the game easier at a lower level, but still feel competitive at a higher level.
Not stutters, it's not a lag or anything, but where an ability leads into another ability. Usually in Smite 1, it would have a hitch, like you'd have different interactions, things. In Smite 2, it's just fluid. It's so fluid that I think it is easier to play the game.
I understand when he says he thinks it's easier, and like I get what he means in terms of there are very few issues with the game that you have to get used to become a better player, which is genuinely in Smite 1, there were things you had to get used to be a good player. I think the biggest thing with Smite 2 though is that it's kind of in the same spot that Smite 1 was in right before they reverted the 9.5 patch, where it's just everybody is so tanky, and that for the most part, everybody just kind of fishes for CC. I think it's getting a little bit better now, but like you played against an Anubis, you try to outplay him, you're winning the 1v1. Oh, he hit his one wrap and then you're dead. I still think that there's too much base tankiness in the game because that allows characters like ADCs to go 4 damaging items and then 2 tank items, and then they're the hardest character in the game to kill, and they still one-shot you. Because prots get worse, and I talk about this a lot. Prots get worse every prot item that you get. There's like a spot where prot items become or start becoming a lot less efficient. It's usually around 100, 150. At 100, you're taking 50% mitigation. At about 150, even if they have pen, you're sitting around 75, 80, 85, 90 protections. So you're still sitting at that about that 50% mitigation. Especially characters like Anubis who just get base protections for getting low.
Base protections are too high. They need to increase
them, and it makes it very easy for them to be able to outplay because of how much survivability they just get. So I think that's part of the easiness of it also. That on top of the game just being smoother, so it is just a little bit easier to play.
I think that's actually a really good thing for the lower, like your casual player or you're just not great ranked player, right? So that's the thing. The game is that literally that smooth, okay? The visual in the game, it looks great. I think you're trolling if you say the game
looks phenomenal
or whatever.
It looks phenomenal.
It does not.
Let me remind
combo
people
with this. I am so excited to see what HI-REZ cooks up with skins and like.
Okay, same, but let me say this first. This is still the alpha. the environmental art team haven't had time to really cook with shading and vibrance, right? Look at what they did with the Joust map, right? Look what they did with the Joust map, and this is still alpha moving into beta. If you looked at the Smite 1 alpha, what it looked like in the alpha compared to what it looks like now, now think about what the Smite 2 alpha can look like in 3 years, right?
Different art.
This is as bad as Smite 2 is ever going to look, and it already looks 3 to 5 times better than Smite 1 from a visual aspect, textures, etc., etc.
Stuff. I want to see a new Fire Giant. I don't want to see another year of Fire Giant. Obviously, I'm not saying right now.
Night and day difference.
In a year,
anybody who says it doesn't look better, you're just you're genuinely just ignorantly biased.
2 years, I'm so excited to see what they cook
Genuinely.
up for
You
Fire
can say
Giant.
you don't like it. You can say like you like the more cartoony look with the less. You could say that, but to say it doesn't look like better from a textures shading standpoint, it's just not true.
Area, Gold Fury area. If there's another monster somewhere, or if they want to change how the camps look or something like that, I'm excited to see what HI-REZ does with the art. Their art team, as Alex said in his video, full glaze. The art team was awesome.
The best. They're the best. They're the best art team. They're the best art team in all of MOBAs.
World. If you go to Smite 1, I do think
They're one of the better art
lighting and
teams
colors on Smite 1
in the
are a
gaming
little
industry,
better still.
in my opinion.
I can
talked
agree.
To somebody, I talked to a dev, and they basically said with UE5, lighting is one of the most difficult things
I've heard
to
this.
mimic or replicate from an older game. And I'm sure over time things will change, but right now I think they've got it in a great spot. Then we go to the next thing I was talking about, where gods. I don't have my god at the game. I don't have my god at the game. When you started Smite 1, you didn't have a god, okay? You didn't have a main.
This
In
is the
Smite
issue,
2,
and I'm going to go on a little bit of a tangent here. The issue, and I was talking about this with Pop-Tart yesterday, was the issue is people have expectations for how they want Smite to feel, Smite 2 to feel, because they've played Smite 1 for so long. So, like, they have an idea on how they want their god to feel. They want their god. They don't want to move to Smite 2, even though it's a better game, because they don't have their god anymore, right? They have an expectation of how they want matchmaking to feel. They have an expectation of how they want the quality of games to feel. They have an expectation of their teammates, right? And maybe there's not enough teammates to fill your lobby with people who actually really know what they're doing. But back in the day, you didn't know what you were doing, but the benefit was nobody did when you were coming up, right? Nobody knew what they were doing, so you didn't really notice it. So when you get into these things and you get into these frustrating interactions where you're like, that didn't feel right, right? And then you forget that it's an alpha, even though at the beginning of the alpha it said every time, this is a true alpha. And you're like, why do I have to hear that? But then 5 seconds later, you're like, yo, why is it so buggy, right? It's you have an expectation on how you want Smite to feel, which sets up Smite 2 to immediately be perceived in a negative light because it's not living up to what you expect. Smite 2 will be out for beta in 3 days.
A god you hated in Smite 1, you might love in Smite 2.
True. Cupid. I love Cupid now. I hated Cupid in Smite 1. Cupid in Smite 2 is awesome. I just gotta try characters.
So many changes.
I agree.
And so many build differences, and
I didn't play Soul Lane at all.
So dramatically different god to god.
I didn't play Soul Lane at all. I'm now playing Soul Lane
know.
more than anything else because I can play everything over there.
And Anubis main in Smite 1 and hated in Smite 2.
Anubis is another one I like in Smite 2.
There's just a ridiculous amount of gods that are fun. Like gods I normally could care less to play. They made Cupid fun, which is crazy because Cupid has been trashed forever. So if that's your
Cupid was
prerogative,
very
and I'm not
boring.
ranking at Smite 2 and I don't
Cupid
wanna
was
play
very
because
boring.
gods
He
out
was
of the game,
literally
you
just
should, in my
live or die
opinion,
by heart
get
bomb.
rid of that thought process.
And then cool if
And
you have it all,
realize
that's it.
aspects are coming. Aspects essentially added 20 more gods to the game. So we're dropping, I think
Aspects
that's 45 when this
inherently
patch hits,
double
probably around the time of this
the
video,
amount
or
of
maybe
ways
the
you
day
can
before
play
this
gods,
video,
and
whatever it is.
actually,
They're 45
actually, it's
gods.
more compounded
They're
than
gonna have
that
20
because now I can take Poseidon into the mid lane. I can also take Poseidon in the jungle. I can also run a tanky Poseidon that has some actives out of the solo lane, right? With like Wish Granting Pearl and a few other items, Gem of Isolation, add some attack speed to apply the slows. I can do that. That's 3 different ways I could play Poseidon, whereas before, maybe I could take him jungle, and maybe I could take him mid. But then you add, he doesn't have one right now, but then you add an aspect, right? So now instead of playing him one way, and not only that, with the build variabilities, I can now bring Poseidon in with like 2 or 3 different builds. Then I can take him in 2 or 3 different roles. Now you add an aspect, and you almost double that variation for that singular god. You've now created 10 different ways to play one god that you like. The replayability created from aspects alone is multiplied by on top of the build variety that already
aspects.
exists.
20 gods are each gonna have an aspect. That is a whole new god. I realize it's still this.
Isn't it going to be at 49 before Aladdin? It's 45 right now. 4 gods are coming in today's patch, and then Aladdin. So there's going to be 49 gods, 20 aspects, and eventually 50.
Same kid, it's still on her. It's a whole new god. The play styles change. You have Cupid support. You have
Aladdin.
Ra,
No,
support.
Aladdin. No, Aladdin puts us at 45. Rama, Kabrakan, Hunbats, Vulcan, and Achilles put us at 50.
Coming in with these aspects
Later in
you
January.
have Kepri damage with these aspects. It's completely changing the god.
You don't really
It's
run
not
him
pretty
damage,
sure
but you
you-
run him Bruiser
play
now.
style. It is
You
changing
could do damage, but I think you run him Bruiser.
completely how these gods overall work. You have Ra being able to heal with your ult, right? So no longer are you, I have to aim and be good at hitting my ult. It's actually really easy to hit the ult. They made it easier to aim and keep aiming and make sure you hit somebody. And then you're trying to aim at your teammates. You can tell them it's coming. Completely different.
And now, something I really am excited about is, like, Raw support is going to be really good. Raw solo is going to be really good. But I wonder if somebody gets a Raw mid, like, utility build that just works wonders and it's just unfightable. Like, it just becomes this broken mid lane Raw. And then there's utility Raw in mid, and then there's also damage Raw in mid. And there's all
that makes
there's
more
like
team
a
comps,
different
too.
ways to play him, and it changes how, like, the style. I think that's the thing that excites me.
So please,
This is
if
inbound.
your
Oh, my feet are cold.
thought process
Bobby
is, I don't
inbound.
want to play the game because my god's not in the game.
favorite
Realize you
cold
might
too.
hate your god when the game comes when it comes to the game.
Don't tell
You
him
might
that.
love something else. So with free to play coming, highly recommend play. Now, I wanted to cover this at the beginning of the video, but I just kind of dove into this. The doomerism, and I already know weren't you dooming I never was dooming the game. The creators that didn't whine and quit.
I was apparently dooming too. So yeah, people
So
just
was
don't know
I.
what dooming means. It's insane how me giving feedback of stuff that
People
I
said
want
I was
to
dooming
see
too in
changed
like
is
August.
considered dooming. It doesn't make sense. It literally doesn't. I play this game every single day. I want stuff to change for it to be more fun.
Like,
I literally got called
Quit.
that I was dooming too. I made a tweet that said, I know we're worried about player base, but I think we should also be worried about viewership. And I gave some examples of why I was concerned about that. And people were like, yo, it's just the alpha. Stop dooming it. I was like, you have to understand what dooming is. Dooming means I'm using verbiage that means the game is doomed, meaning no matter what the devs do, the game is doomed to fail. No matter what changes they make, it will not be successful. That is dooming. Where they're just like, it's cooked, it's not good, it'll never be good. That's dooming. Giving constructive criticism, like I really don't like this about the game, is not dooming.
I wouldn't say Fine OK quit. I saw someone trying to say that on Reddit. Fine OK said, hey, I'm going to put some
Doomer.
time into YouTubing for a different game because in case Smite fails. Smart man, right? Like, smart choice. But Incon quit.
Okay, so I was
A whole
wrong.
bunch of people quit. Like, a whole bunch of people were doomering and they were super negative. I get it. If you look back at my videos,
Venenu left, Incon left. Final K said he was dabbling but not leaving. Leon did leave temporarily, but he did say he would dabble back and forth too. And then mostly it wasn't creators that were really dooming it. It was just a lot of community members replying that were like ranked grinders that didn't make content, but they were like long-term ranked grinders who maybe don't stream or make any YouTube videos, but they have a voice. Those were the people that were just like, this game's cooked.
and the things I was talking about, I was saying state of the game at that moment wasn't good and they needed to do XYZ. Guess what? They've done XYZ. They've done more than that. They've done so
They have.
much.
They
If
really
you
have.
Look at
I'll
this
put on pants.
timeline. Alpha 1,
I'm
we
still
played
keeping
it, we're
my
like,
mic on,
cool,
though.
but it sucks.
While I put on pants.
Alpha Weekend 2, trash, got worse. Alpha Weekend 3,
Okay, it was insane that Alpha Weekend 1 was like, yo, this is an alpha. This is pretty decent. And then Weekend 2, it was like, what the fuck happened? A month passed and the game got worse. The game looks worse. Everything got worse. The servers were bad. It was like,
The second weekend was rough.
it's collapsing.
worse. Alpha
second
Weekend 4
weekend
got
was
a
rough.
little better, but still not fun. Then they went on. The CEO was tweeting and making the devs look terrible. I know I called him out. I'm sure he saw it from a bunch of other people. And it seemed like he just stopped doing that. He took a step back. And the devs got control. As soon as the devs got control, they dropped an amazing...
I don't blame Stu all too much, although I don't think the tweets were a good thing. I think it was more or less the doomers and it was the negativity towards the devs that probably made a lot of people get defensive, and his tweets came off very defensive, and sometime it attacked creators, and the creators and pro players were the ones that were sticking by Smite, so it kind of burned some of those bridges. I don't think he did it with bad intent. I just don't think... Again, I'm indifferent. I do like a CEO that tweets his opinions rather than just like giving PR stuff. I do like to hear from people and their opinions without it being like ran through legal. I don't think the tweets were a very good idea.
That enhanced the gameplay,
especially with the
visuals.
But was he wrong on one of those tweets though? He's like, people like, oh, it's dead, oh, it's back, oh, it's dead. Like, people do jump on the, like, some creators. It is true that one tweet he made that kind of shit on creators. It was one of those things where like, it's true, but why do you need to say it? Right? It is true. We do kind of jump on the like, oh, this isn't good, and then, oh shit, actually, you know what? They cooked, right? And then, oh, this doesn't feel good again, right? Like, it was true what he posted. It was analytical from the aspect that, like, a lot of people will say, like, oh, the game is great, and then they'll go just, like, right back to, like, I think the game might die, and then right back to, oh, right, it's great, right? It's just one of those things that, like, it is true. I'm not even disagreeing, but, like, it's one of those things, like, you don't need to say it, though.
I don't know
what
how
is
I
saying
remember
it
this, like,
accomplished.
back to back to back,
right? That patch changed everything. That patch made Smite 2 solid. And then every patch since then has made the game better to the point where right now the game is better than Smite 1. And I saw Reddit was like, well, shouldn't it be? Or why are we even arguing a sequel is better than the original? Because the sequel has to go through the 12 years stages that Smite 1 went through.
Also, what he's saying is only partially true. There are still people saying Smite 1's better. Smite 1 is more fun. It's a more complete game. It's a finished game. Smite 1's better. Like, Smite 1 has very few positives over Smite 2. It's like the god.
Why I say it? Because it's annoying and those people need to cost out being bandwagon enjoyers, ya bums. Oh, wait, aren't you the kid that replied on YouTube that's just really upset that people actually like the game and you call people delusional for enjoying the game just because you don't and you can't see anybody else's opinion outside of your own, so you just come off as ignorant in every comment, just like you did right here?
Odd roster. And
self-reflection moment, brother. Do better.
That's really it. Smite 2 is the better game.
In months, not in 12 years, not even in 12 months, in like 3 months. Remember, this game hasn't been being made for more than a year
technically,
and a half.
If people are bandwagon enjoyers of Smite 2, aren't you technically just a bandwagon enjoyer of Smite 1, just hopping on the train of negativity just because you don't like the game that other people like?
It was a year in development when we learned about it. Okay, a little over a year and a half. That's insane.
You're called the Doomer? Yeah, it sucks, Leaf. It sucks.
And I don't think that is processed. That
Why would the Smite creators come in here and come throughout this entire year and talk about the things they don't like to where they're being called doomers, and then also later, after changes are made, actually enjoy what's happening now and then deserve to be called out? Because you have the idea that, like, people just jump on this bandwagon of Smite 2, yet a lot of us weren't on the bandwagon of Smite 2 throughout most of 2024. A lot of us were calling out the things we didn't like about it, which is what this whole video is about, is being called doomers for saying what we don't like about it. But now that we do like it, we're just bandwagon enjoyers? Make it make sense. Connect the dots, get some yarn, put it on your fucking poster board, and then when you come figure it out, you let me know. But you won't. You won't be back, and you won't type another comment.
We have to go through... Obviously, their original Smite 2, it never should have been in that state. But you have to go through the fails to get to, the success, right? I think they're at a point now where I would consider the game a success. Obviously, the player base is dinky and needs to massively increase. So
when he says the game is a success, I'm pretty sure he's just saying, is the game fun currently? And the game is fun currently. I think success is going to come down to, like, player base, money, all that good stuff. And even if a game is fun and a game is successful in terms of being enjoyable,
a fun game.
It might not succeed. It's unfortunate. I think the game is a blast right now. I think it's going to succeed, but there's always the chance that people just don't care to play MOBAs. They don't care to play, this specific MOBA Smite. They care to play other MOBAs, or they want to play like Marvel Rivals, Deadlock, yada yada. It's a success though, just because it's fun. That's what matters right now.
They can work on matchmaking, all the other things, but the game is good. The game is better
matchmaking
than Smite
blows right now.
Smite 2 is better than Smite 1.
I'm really curious what Innocent Rabbit says about matchmaking.
Great. Like, it doesn't just make it better than Smite 1, it makes it a great game.
Max came out with that
it makes it unique, it makes it feel like its own, and it's what we wanted from UE5. I also saw on Reddit, they were like, we're hyping up Aladdin walking on walls. Dude, Marvel Rivals, they all run on walls. Smite is not a vertical game. There's
Yeah.
no verticality.
Smite is not
There's
Marvel
no
Rivals
aiming.
or
This is such a big point that people do not understand. Smite is a very base MOBA. Like, you are on, I mean, every MOBA basically is. I mean, Deadlock is kind of reaching into verticality and stuff like that, but you are playing on the base. Gods that go into the air, there's like two bases. There's like on the ground,
that
and then
Wookiee
there's
guy
in
already
the air.
left.
Those are the
Small.
only two bases. And it's like, what, 4 gods
That Wookiee guy already
that go into the air? Realistically,
poor kid.
this game is all played on the ground. Being able to like maneuver and play around walls and play like vertically up a little bit more is so much different. It's so much different. I just think a lot of matchmaking isn't in the game right now, Cypress. I've heard it's on, it's off, it's on, it's off. I don't know.
Shooters and other games and your Paragons that had verticality. Obviously, shooters are always going to have verticality. That's how those games work. But Paragon, those games failed because they added verticality. It removes a simplicity from the game. HI-REZ managed to add something that feels like verticality because you're going up a wall, but you're not actually. It's a leap. They managed to turn it into a leap. So there's no aiming at them on the wall. It's
almost like
a leap. It's in the
Hu-Yi's
air.
old
It hits
jump.
until it hits the ground. That is
Kind of.
unique. That is not only very smart of the devs.
I'm not sure
to
nothing.
First of all, to create it, then to have the idea to make it that where they don't need to worry about verticality and make it still feel like there is verticality without taking away the simplicity of Smite. That is why that is cool and unique and something to mention.
Cypress, thank you for the primer.
In a post where people are
You
like,
thinking my goat?
creators,
Mwah.
consumers, people are also being negative about like the cool stuff. It kind of blows my mind. So to reiterate, Smite 2, we're getting a bigger map in this patch. The map changes are nice. There's a lot of farm. There's a lot to do. It's almost overwhelming.
Just to add this into the map, currently I've probably 3 issues with the new map without playing it. One, there's already too much gold in the game. The economy of the game is so inflated that there's no such thing, and it's kind of like the issue that Smite 1 had, but I think it's even sped up right now. There is too much gold in the game. There's no early game. There's no mid game. You basically just sprint to the late game. That's an issue. The only reason it feels like a little less than Smite 1 is because there's 7 items. If there was 6 items, you would feel like this game is arena. There's way too much gold in the game. Number 2, they have to find a way to balance jungle starters on a map that has a bunch of farm. My worry is
solo lane, those
the
camps
entire
spawn too
game is
fast.
going to be everyone has
side ones near
Boombas.
the teleporters,
It's not
they
fun.
spawn way
A lot
too
of the
fast.
fun of
Too much
MOBAs is
snowball.
like all lanes kind of play differently. If this patch goes through and Boombas are that good and the farming is that important, that every role just becomes a like farming sprint to camps game, it's not fun. It's not fun. That's my second issue. Third, smaller than the other ones. A lot of the camps and a lot of the big jungle monsters, I just want them to switch it up. I don't like the side camps. I think it just adds too much farm that's not needed. I hate the gold camps around the Gold Fury. I want to see something change in the Gold Fury slot. I think Gold Fury is a horrible mechanic. And I don't mind Fire Giant. I just think Fire Giant needs to have a lot more health. In my mind, Fire Giant is balanced by the fact that not that it does a ton of damage, it's that it's very hard to kill. It takes a long time. I don't care if an enemy ADC or like a Mercury or like a Hyper Carry solos Fire Giant for 45 seconds. That doesn't bother me. If I'm not checking Fire Giant for 45 seconds, that's my bad. My issue is 5 people sprint to Fire Giant, kill it in 10 seconds, not even 10 seconds, kill it in 5 seconds, and there's no counterplay. I don't care that the enemy ADC can sprint to this Fire Giant and he can kill it really quickly, but he'll die to it. I don't care. Fire Giant doesn't need to do damage. It needs to be tanky. It needs to be a beast. Infinite stacking. I've talked a lot about infinite stacking, probably ad nauseum. Infinite stacking is awesome. It is so awesome being able to dominate lane. Like the one reason I really like Surtur, I've jumped all over the place with this one comment, but the reason I liked OG Surtur is I could play 2 ways. I could play to dominate this lane and bully out this enemy solo laner, or I could try the opposite way where I play to get stacks and then I play to just one-shot late game. That is so sick to me. I love that. And then they switched it up where it's like, yeah, you can do both at the same time. Woohoo! And then I hated the character because, he was still an infinite stacker, but it just became boring. Same, Leaf, same. That would be so... Well, I don't even care about infinite stacking. I like the idea of risky items And I also like the idea of infinite stacking. Infinite stacking, losing half stats when you die. I'm curious to see what would happen with that. Yeah, Doom Orb. What's it? Heartseeker.
You don't get less
was the
farming
old
when
one.
invading? No.
Also, original Heartseeker was really cool.
There are a lot of issues
Stormseeker
that
should
still
be
need
brought
to be
back.
fixed, yeah.
Stormseeker was awesome. Okay, servers are still down.
Your ult and your heal no longer
There
scale
still
off of
is a
power,
lot to
but
be
your
fixed,
heal
you're
can
right,
be
yeah.
placed on somebody and it travels around with them, and your ult can be aimed all the way through until it hits somebody, and it can heal teammates. It does damage still, but it's a base number. So you're gaining and you're losing. That is what aspects are there for. They're also there to change the playstyle of a god. The Loki aspect, your one no longer does the bleed when you open on somebody, but you stealth a team.
The character. There could be like
30 gods in the game, and each god has an aspect. That's, in my mind, basically 200 plus gods, right? We're getting a massive amount.
As long as it allows them to play differently.
Variety and...
As long as it allows them to
you
play
know, you
differently,
just- you
because
feel
it's
like-
not inherently like Neith. Neith can be played like ability based. Now she can be played attack speed based. Like obviously like the Morgan's aspect, I don't think. Well, maybe doesn't really change like where she's going to be played and make her feel like a new god. Like Hercules, I guess that can bring him into support, but he could kind of already do support. So like some aspects will give you an entirely new way to play the god. Other ones are kind of just clearly better to where I don't even know why you would use the other one.
You have choices everywhere right now. Then you get into items.
Thank you for the follow,
I mentioned this
Dash.
for a second. Strength and intellect.
Me too, me too.
I don't. People hate change. Your average person hates change.
Yep.
However, if you never change, nothing has the opportunity to get better. Now you might be like, well, it can't get worse. It can. Things become dull and stale and boring and just get worse over time. So the item changes, now that we're here, make a ton of sense. At first, I realized it was a little confusing. People are still confused about it. Look, gods do magical or physical damage. That's it. Nemesis does physical, right? Zeus does magical.
Starbucks bangs. Holy guacamole.
You're not going to make up your own build in Smite 2 and have it be as anywhere near as good as the right build, as the top tier builds. So please don't go into Smite 2 thinking you can do whatever you want. I've heard that a lot. Like, oh, they said there's no roles. I'm playing low-key support with damage. No, bro. Like, you still have your roles in Smite 2. That did not change. The gameplay is...
The whole thing is your meta isn't streamlined anymore. Like, you don't have to take a specific one or two guardians that are busted right now with these specific one or two busted builds, and if you build anything outside of that, you're trolling. There is more variability, but that doesn't mean you can do whatever you want.
Very similarly in the team fight aspect, where you have your dive, your frontline, your carries, you know, all the same stuff. That is the exact same. That's a good thing. Now, I feel like I've covered enough of the Smite 2 stuff. If you were at all wondering, should you play the game? Yes. If you don't want to spend money,
Agreed.
if you don't mind spending money, if you buy the god pack, you get all the gods forever. So free to play, you will not have all the gods. You'll have to unlock them.
All the gods forever.
You unlock them every
Dude,
level.
I swear people don't get that. To
Free
play the
ascension
game
passes.
now, you're basically just paying for the God Pack. That if you enjoy Smite 1, you enjoy Smite 2, buying the God Pack, I mean buying the what's it called? Buying that thing to play the
pack.
game right now, you're not even buying to play the game, you're buying the God Pack. That's all you're paying for.
I still don't. I don't think I'll ever understand anyway. It's $30. That's not shit talking anybody who's like $30 might be a lot for me right now. I get it, but what I'm saying is that these people who complain, because you're probably not on there complaining if you're thinking $30 is kind of a lot. Okay, yeah, like I get it, right? Everyone has different financial situations, but like it's $30. One-time purchase forever. You spent $30 on Smite 1, right, for the God Pack. Maybe you got it for 15. And you played it for probably thousands of hours over a 10-year period, and now one more time you need to do it. You're not even like, oh, they put it behind a paywall. Like Smite 1 had a paywall if you're talking about all the gods. You can pay for the God Pack right now, and then also get free diamonds per level to where when there's 130 gods back in the game, you've gotten 13,000 free diamonds. And you also, like, it's just...
That's literally all you're paying for. You're not paying for the game, you're paying for the gods. And if you don't like it, guess what? You're gonna like it. I had nothing I had nothing off of that. Getting gods for free now is extremely easy. It doesn't take 300 hours. To be honest, that wouldn't surprise me too much. I haven't looked at them. You're gonna pay for it anyway? Yeah, you get access to the game early. It's fun right now.
In Smite 2, you get an unlock token to unlock a god. So you can unlock gods if you want. Then on top of
And
it,
you get your diamonds back.
You get 5,000 diamonds, which is the new currency. your Smite gems transfer to
You
Smite
get free
2.
diamonds per day.
They are
You
not
get legacy
diamonds.
gems. You
They
get free
are
skins.
kind of like a secondary
Ascension passes are
currency
huge.
used to help you buy skins. So you can only buy like half.
Give me that.
It's something that I didn't think I'd really care about. But when I have like the diamonds and the gems to buy an Ascension Pass, I'm like thinking, which one am I going to get up first? Like, I have to like plan around this. I think it's cool. And the trackers are all.
Here's the weird thing for me. Anybody who's been here for a while, I didn't care about skins at all. I didn't care about skins at all for the latter half of Smite 2. For a while when I was, in Smite 1. When I was first playing, I had every single skin from Season 2 up till Season like 6 or 7. Then I started to just not care anymore, probably because I found, well, I was budgeting better, but also I had enough skins on every god where I was like, these are cool enough, and that's what I did. Now that I've played Smite 2 for 4 or 5 months now, and I've been playing with like a lot of the base skins, now I'm excited for cosmetics again. Because I've been playing with just these base skins and maybe some radiant skin, right? I've been playing with those for so long that, like, you start telling me they're going to start cooking up some new skins and maybe some decent collabs. Like, I'm now excited for the first time about cosmetics in a long time to where, like, I will be spending money in the game.
Also cool.
You unlock an Ascension Pass and you complete it, so you get a god rank 10.
I think the paying for Ascension Passes makes it so it feels better. Okay, it makes it feel like you've earned that character because it's basically free. You can get it for basically free. If you play through the entire thing, pretty sure you get 450 gems for every
diamonds.
Ascension Pass you get.
Yep.
So if you put 450 gems into the game one time, then this is without buying
can just keep
anything, by the
recycling
way.
it over
You
and
can
over.
earn every single Ascension Pass. It's going to take time, obviously, because you're going to have to master every
You have to
character.
spend
but
legacy gems,
I think it just
But
feels
it's free.
better.
It does
I don't
feel better.
mind paying for them.
And it then gives you
It does
enough
feel better.
diamonds, which is the in-game currency for Smite 2, to buy another Ascension Pass. So you get to just keep going through all of them as long as you're finishing them. So that is...
Yeah, you have to rank 10.
I think buying the game, Smite 1 lasted 12 years. You got every god that came out for 12
$30.
years. So there's 12 years of content for $30. Sometimes it's on sale for less. I feel like that's a no-brainer.
I got it for $20. I got it on sale. I paid $20. There was a thing on console where you could share like a home Xbox with like your other accounts. So I got the God Pack on every single one of my Smurf accounts and my main, as long as I played it. So I had paid $20 for the God Packs for, I think I had 4 Smurf accounts or something like that. Which is just like, bro, don't expose our tricks.
Aiming this with this video.
Porn star Bacchus, baby.
Tweet it today. Our next Smite 2 update is going live
This
tomorrow.
is yes.
Either way. Bobby's right, Weekend's right, Final K is right. You can really only sit there so long and just say that these content creators clearly just don't like the game. You can only sit there for so long and just say, oh, we're just supporting the game because it's in our financial best interest. We didn't do that for a bulk of 2024. I wasn't on board with this whole high-res shill type behavior until 3 weeks post layoffs, which was right around mid-September and October. Right? I was talking about the viewership being awful midway through the season. I was talking about the fact that Smite 2 didn't have planned drops. I was talking about how the game just didn't feel good. It felt like things were slow. And then we sat down, all the ambassadors got told, here's what the timeline looks like going into January. What do y'all think? And I remember typing that day, it was the day of the layoffs, and I was like, I'm just, it doesn't feel right to talk about it today, like I'll wait. But then once I actually sat down and looked at the timeline, and this is obviously the timeline that you guys have seen them cook over the past 4 months, I looked at it and was like, if they can pull this off, it sounds great. Since then, I've been on board. Every single update, except for the second one. The second update was like really buggy, and I actually remember saying this amount of bugs with a 3-week gap in between when they weren't doing the Titan talks yet, and they weren't doing true bug and meta fixes for 3 full weeks. I was like, we can't do this. I actually even said this is unacceptable, the amount of bugs that they're doing. Since then, since the second patch of open alpha, whatever, or closed alpha CA2, since then I've been on board because every single update since then has been fantastic, and now we're in a good place. Right? That's it. That is it. Play Smite 2, chat. Play Smite 2. Download Smite 2. We've had 3 to 5 people. No, actually more. We've had like 5 to 8 people buy Smite 2 over the past 2 days. 5 people. All right, now we got to make that into a video. Now we got to make